more serious. Whistleblowers. In an era when public trust in government and corporate giants is at a dangerously low ebb, which is kind of follows on from what I've been talking about the lack of accountability these days. The ongoing 7-year saga of ATO whistleblower Richard Boyle serves as a reminder of the risk whistleblowers take if they come forward. To talk to us about this is risk governance and safety expert James Ritchie, who says whistleblowers should be a protected species. James, good morning.
Good morning, Stephen.
The difficulty I have with this, and I don't necessarily disagree with you, but identifying or determining who is a whistleblower as opposed to somebody who has ulterior motives is, I guess, the first point that we need to, because there's a famous international situation where, many people are calling this people a whistleblower, where I think otherwise. But in the case of Richard Boyle, I think it's pretty cut and dry, but it's not always that simple, is it?
No. Look, I think whistleblowers sometimes need to probably understand that they're not Kojak or Columbo, and I think that's where to your point, Stephen, sometimes it's hard to determine who's a whistleblower versus who's somebody that's potentially got nefarious intent in terms of why they're ousting information about an organisation.
So how do we go about safeguarding a whistleblower? Because I imagine there's two issues here. Is that firstly, somebody identifying a problem and letting other people know about it, as opposed to somebody who might be divulging sensitive information. I imagine there's a fairly fine line there.
Yeah, look, and I think, unfortunately, Stephen, it's one of these things that's only a subjective definition, a subjective interpretation that can only be made once the information is brought to light. Because I think you're looking at when you're talking about public service personnel or public service employees, they are covered by the Public Service Act under this area we call public interest disclosures, and then in a piece of legislation, but they're quite different things for obvious reasons.
So what are you suggesting, that there needs to be, I guess, a clear pathway for whistleblowers to take? Because, we have these various anti-corruption bodies around these days, and, in New South Wales, we've got the ICAC, we've just had the National Anti-Corruption Commission set up. There's one here in the ACT that doesn't appear to do much. And then those organisations also have their own problems. Do we need something outside of that?
Oh, look, I think that's debatable. But to be honest, I think when you look at the way that existing whistleblower protection laws are implemented, it seems like that every time that a genuine whistleblower comes forward, they're often not afforded the level of protection that the legislation seems to potentially offer them. And so I guess what I'm advocating for, what we're advocating for, is more effective legislative protection at a higher level to begin with. And then absolutely I think there's a place for better oversight bodies, whether it is ICAC, whether it is some other sort of commission, that needs to form part of that framework as well.
So is it just a matter of tightening up the legislation, or is the legislation in and of itself ineffective, do you think?
Oh, look, that's a difficult one to answer, and probably, I'd prefer to let the QCs and the legislators really kind of debate that one at a detailed level. But I think that it's one of those things that when legislation's often made, and particularly regulation, the way that it interacts with one another or with other pieces of legislation is often not considered. The old Kerry Packer sort of famous speech where he gives, I think is it one of the politicians at the time, a real rousing about don't introduce one piece of legislation until you've
got rid of 10 others. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I think it's a bit of that.
Yeah.
A bit of that in play.
You've also suggested organisations need to have their own effective whistleblower programs and internal pathways. That, I guess, is difficult because the people that would need to set these pathways up are often the people that might have the whistle blown on them.
Yeah. Look, and I think that's where this concept of having a corporate conscience, or in the case of a Commonwealth government agency or a state government agency, a public conscience, and that's where I think these internal frameworks can actually work really effectively, because they keep everyone on notice in the sense that organisations that are in charge of the public purse, there needs to be a mechanism in place to call out either unethical or illegal conduct, because of the fact that the public and business owners deserve the right to feel confident in the institutions that we either fund, or in the case of the ATO, we feel like they've always got their hand in your pocket.
Yeah, and I guess that's the difficulty, is that the reputational damage that might have already been done, or I guess that comes naturally with some sort of some organisations, like one that is taking part of our money as by definition, is always going to be difficult. James, it's a fascinating topic, and I really appreciate your time this morning.
Thanks as always, Stephen. And can I put my vote in for Vanilla Coke?
Oh, mate, come on. See, now we need a whistleblower. Good on you, mate. Thanks, James.
Thanks, Stephen.
James Ritchie, risk governance and safety expert, and Vanilla Coke fan.
On 2CC Breakfast with Stephen.
You like that? So we're talking about Vanilla Coke.
Why do you...